Hello Wolfpack, we have 2 days left until the most important weekly close that I think will be in Bitcoin's whole year, right? 2 days, most important weekly close in the whole year of Bitcoin, and the reason being, as I've explained in multiple videos now, is because we're coming up on a test of the 50-week SMA, which is this red line here. If we lose the 50-week SMA, the next logical target, according to historical trends, which was happened about 5 or 6 times now, 4 or 5 times, sorry, is we slowly diminish down to the 200-week SMA within about a year. So it would look something like this, right? We lose this, we have a couple bounces here and there, right? But we slowly trend downwards, and then in about a year's time, we reach the 200-week SMA, wherever that may be at the time, right? That's that green line. It won't be a 20k, all right? That was a wrong line drawing there. It will be probably around 25 to 35k. It's very hard to say exactly where it will be. It depends on how fast the drop happens, etc. But 20k is not what we're looking at all, okay? We don't usually retest previous all-time highs. I don't think that's going to happen. So 25 to 30k, and I also don't think it will be at 20k because currently it's at 18.4k. And then when you take a year and the fact that it's trending upwards, it'll probably be, as I said, in the 25k, maybe 30k region. So that's what we're looking at for Bitcoin right now. It's not confirmed yet, obviously. That's why I say this weekly close is very important. We have never historically lost the 50-week SMA, convincingly lost it, without actually going down to the 200-week SMA. Never. Not once. All right? You can look throughout the entire history of Bitcoin. Every time we lose that line, right? We lost it here, went down, right? Over here, we lost it, okay, went down to 200. We lost it a couple of times here in 2019. We eventually trended down to the 200 here, and we haven't done that for a while. Okay, so that's just basic, trend extrapolation. If we lose the 50-week SMA, the next logical step is bottoming out in the 200. The interesting thing about the 200, which is this green line, is that when we test for 200-week SMA, we never historically go below the zone in which we tested it, right? We tested it here at around 200 USD, never been below that again. Tested it here around 3,000, never been below that again, right? We tested it here on the close at around 5,000, never been below that again. So if we do come down and test it in the 25 to 30k region, that is a sign that Bitcoin will never trade below that region again. So it's actually a bullish thing. You just got to change your mindset, right? Obviously, it depends on your bias, depends on your current holdings as well. But the way I see it is that, in order to see a sustainable upwards trend, we need to be constantly testing these lows and consolidating support, and we haven't actually done that for a while. 2021 has been a bit of an interesting year. We've just moved sideways, and it's pretty clear that the market hasn't been super bullish this year, right? It wouldn't surprise me at all, right, if we see the drop down of a 200-week SMA. It wouldn't surprise me at all. In fact, that's my kind of prediction, okay? I think that's going to happen. But what I am skeptical about is whether we're going to see a bounce before that happens or not. And we will find out in 2 days, right? We will find out in 2 days. What we need to close above, we need to close above 47.6k, right? If we close above 47.6k again, that will very likely trigger a bounce, which could actually materialize into a recovery. But I think even in a bounce, right, it would be most likely that we just see a dead cat. And if we do close below it, what I'm expecting to happen is coming down to this region around 40k, 42k, seeing a bounce, and then a head and shoulders pattern, and then a further deterioration downwards over the course of the next year, right? So look, it is a very, very critical time in the market. 48 hours basically will decide, will do a lot in deciding. Obviously, there's other factors involved you have to take into account. You can't just take into account one line, and I'm not actually doing that. This is just the most important thing that I'm taking into account right now. If that breaks, that's a very, very strong sign, very, very convincing sign that the bear market is actually in. And we will be bottoming out in the 200-week SMA. Whether that happens within 3 years, whether it happens in a year, maybe happen in 3 months, right? We don't actually know because we haven't had a typical end to the bull market, and so there's no reason to believe we'll have a typical bear market. But what there is reason to believe is the fact that it doesn't matter if you have a typical bull market or not. The technical analysis stands true, stands the test of time. And the 200-week SMA is the obvious long-term support zone that we need to be holding. Now, on the smaller time frames, we have the daily chart, right? And the daily chart is very interesting right now, very interesting, because we have conflicting signs, right? Conflicting signals. We have a MACD cross that is not yet triggered, okay? It is actually flattened out by the recent drop. But if it was to trigger, that's an interesting thing to take into account. It was actually triggered at some point, but we flattened it out. We have a bullish MACD cross, a bullish RSI divergence that has been playing out since the 10th of December, which is obviously a bottoming out signal. However, I would remind you guys not to rely too much on the RSI divergences, right? It should be used as supporting evidence. It means that the bottom is coming soon, but it doesn't by any means mean the bottom is in. You can see here in July and May, we actually had a bullish RSI divergence throughout this entire drop from May 19th all the way up to June 9th, right? And actually further all the way up here to June 25th. We had over a month of bullish divergence on the RSI, and then all of a sudden it was destroyed and we just went further down, right? If the buying pressure is not there, the buying pressure is not there. The RSI is just supporting evidence to try and convince people to buy. It doesn't actually mean anything. It's an oscillator. And even if it was a bottoming out signal, right, I would strongly encourage you to not trust it with your life and not buying it at current prices because, as I said, it's an oscillator. It's not a lagging indicator, but it doesn't indicate an immediate reversal by any means, especially when you're taking into account that we are below such critical resistance that we need to be taking back, right? Not to mention, if we bring up the bull market support band, right, the bull market support band is basically one of the strongest medium-term to long-term resistance and support zones you're going to get in technical analysis. It's 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. We held it here in September, right? Acted as resistance here in July. It's very, very prominent. Held it here throughout the entire of September as well. We kept bouncing off of it. We've recently actually dropped below that. And in order to get back above it, we need to be closing above 52.4K. But then what I would actually say is in order to get back above into bull market territory again, we need to be getting above 54K, which is this uptrending yellow level of support, right? And then for full confirmation, 61K. So we're quite a way below what we actually need to be achieving right now. I don't think anyone should be getting even a glimpse of bullish until 54K, until at least we've flipped this uptrending level of support, and then we can kind of label this as some sort of fake out on the larger scale, and we can continue heading upwards. But right now, it's not happening, so there's no reason to be bullish right now. If you trade reversals, that's fine, but you just know that that's inherently a very risky thing to trade. What we can see as well is the volume is not necessarily going away. What you want to be seeing in a downtrend is diminishing volume, because diminishing volume represents a lack of selling pressure, right? If the trend is downwards, you have small volumes, a lack of selling pressure, not many people are selling, and then the buying pressure can start coming in by people slowly starting to look at things like bullish divergences. But right now, there's just no lack of volume here. There is a sustained amount of volume similar to what we've been seeing for this entire year, to be honest. So look, that's not a reason to be bullish as well. And then when we go even closer and we look a bit closer at Bitcoin, we do have one reason to be bullish, which is this white trend line, this white downwards trend line that started here on April 2021, and then we came through here in September, and we've actually been holding that for 2 candles in a row here. You can on the 4-hourly chart, you can see it quite nicely, right? We've bounced off it twice, right? That's bullish. That's a good thing to see. However, what I will say about that is that we've actually just managed to lose the 200-day SMA, which is historically another strong support zone that Bitcoin needs to hold, dynamic support zone that Bitcoin needs to hold in order to see bull market action. When we lose the 200-day SMA, it usually what happens is if we don't get back above it within a few days, it's very unlikely for Bitcoin to have an upwards trend, okay, at least within the next month or so. It is a strong medium-term to long-term indicator that kind of acts as major support throughout this entire drop. In fact, it was catching the bottom, and now we've just recently lost that. So yes, we are actually holding this downtrending level of support, this white line here at the bottom, which is great to see. But if we drop below that, and that drop will only need to come by dropping below around 45.5K, which by the way is 500 USD from current prices. It's very possible we drop below that. Then it will be even harder to get back above the 200, which we've just lost. And the next obvious target, if we lose this region here, would be 42K to 40K, okay? So I'll say that again. If we lose this downwards trending white line that we're currently testing right now, the next obvious zone of support on Bitcoin will be 42K to 40K, possibly 43K, 43K to 40K, which is another 3,000 USD drop, right? There's not much support right now. We're kind of running out of support. We're on basically one of the last legs of support. And I'll tell you right now, if we drop down to this green box here, I will be 100% certain, or at least 90% certain, that what we will be seeing is a head and shoulders pattern on Bitcoin. We come back down, come back up to 53K, we have a clear head and shoulders, and we head downwards. And if we lose this white line, this downtrending white line, that would be a loss of the 50-week SMA. Let's go back to the weekly chart, and we can also see when we lose the 50-week SMA, we generally trend downwards towards the 200-week SMA. So Bitcoin is in an undeniably critical position right now. So critical that even the YouTubers who clickbait their viewers with alarm bells get the pass, right? Because I believe this deserves an alarm bell. This is a critical position, and not many people are really considering it that well, right? I'm not really seeing this bearish sentiment people are talking about. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, right? But a lot of people are saying, well, everyone's so bearish, it has to go up. I'm not seeing that, right? What I'm seeing is a bunch of people blindly believing in very few bullish indicators that could definitely indicate a reversal. I'm not saying they couldn't, but the point is, the evidence is kind of stacking towards the bearish argument right now. And if we do lose this downtrending, this downtrending white line, that will be extra evidence for the bearish argument to play out. And I think that if the weekly closes below this red line here, the 50-week SMA, it's undeniable that the bearish argument will play out. So we've got 2 days here to really decide on Bitcoin, 2 important days. Now, obviously on this channel, I don't just bring up bearish things. I don't just bring up things that fit my kind of bias, because obviously to a certain extent I'm biased, even though I would say I'm not, right? Because I don't actually have any capital in the market right now besides Bitcoin, which I hold forever. So, this is completely, I'm just looking at the charts at face value. There's no ulterior motives here at all for my personal bags, but obviously I am a person, I'm a human, and I have opinions, so obviously I'm biased. But what I want to say is one thing I've found that is bullish, and I didn't find this, right, I found it on Twitter, but one thing I can see that is bullish is that on the 3-day chart on Bitcoin, we do have a very clear uptrending level of support on the RSI. That is held in November 2018, it held in the COVID drop, and it held throughout the entire of May to June. And right now, we've just come down on this 3-day candle to test it for support, and that would mean that we would need to bounce off of that right now, right? And if we do that, if we do bounce off of that, that would, coincide or, be in conjunction with a bounce off of this bottom uptrending level of support, right, which could actually materialize into a full recovery. So that's one more thing I'm looking at there, the 3-day RSI. What I will say is we're on a knife's edge for Bitcoin, right? If we drop down literally another 1,000 USD from current prices at this moment, 46.2k, and we close at that region, literally 1,000 USD is nothing, right? That could very well confirm a bear market. I'm not joking at all, right? We are on the last line of defense, the last downtrending level of support we have after all these trend lines have been lost. We're on the last one. The 3-day RSI is basically scraping the barrel of bullish charts. It's one of the only things I could find, right? There is definitely an opportunity for a bounce here, 100% guaranteed. There is an opportunity for a bounce here, and we will be finding out within the next 2 days whether that will actually materialize. So 2 days, guys, wait for it. I'll be doing a collaboration video of Mega Whale. We'll be talking about what's going to happen on this weekly close, when it closes, and what's going to happen next in the market. If we close above the 50-week, it is very possible, I'd say it's likely, that we'll see some sort of bounce. Whether it's a dead cat or not is the question, right? And if we close below the 50-week, that's probably a sign to just hold on to your fiat, hold on to your stable coins, and just wait for a better entry, because I feel like we will definitely be going down further from that point. 2 days, 48 hours, mark it in your calendars, get your alarms set. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.